Hi and welcome to this how-to about installing CentOS 8 through the terminal. Connect keyboard, insert the boot media and restart your computer. I should also point out that this tutorial is useful if you want to install on a computer which have graphical problem, because we should use a non-graphical installer. And now stop the timer with help of the keyboard arrow key up and down. I will also have additional material at the end of the clip. Move the marker up to Install CentOS with help of the keyboard, and it is arrow key on the keyboard. We should now have a text-based installation that is advanced stuff. To activate text-based installation, press Tab. And now you have a text string down here, and we should modify this string by adding one sentence, which tell the installer to run in a non-graphical mode. So space first, and this is the command which should be inserted. That. And now we press enter to start the installation. This is the tricky part of the installation. As you can see, it is a text menu and you make the choice with the number key. Language is one of the good starting point because I don't live in United States, so the keyboard is wrong for me. So I at least temporarily need to change to another keyboard, and I do that by changing the language. This is a quite long list, so I need to press enter. But here is my country, Sweden, 68. So in my case, I should write in 68, and you, of course, look up your country in the list and give the corresponding number. There is more than one keyboard in Sweden, or Swedish, because some part of Finland also talk Swedish, so there is a Finnish variant of keyboard in Swedish too, but number one is the right for me. Now I will get the right spelling of the settings. A lot of things today are network-based connection. So next good starting point is to configure the network. However, there is security consideration to take in too. So if your system is not part of a secure environment, for example behind a firewall or something, you maybe don't want to connect the system to the internet. But in my case, I'm behind a firewall, so this system are protected, because the installer don't necessarily have all security feature active, and the install program are actually its own operation system. So if you activate the network configuration and network connection and so on, your system will be attacked before you even have finished the installation, and you have a compromised system already before you even have started up for the first time. So if you work for NSA or something, don't connect the system directly to the internet. That is a very bad idea. But network configuration, number 7. And now we have a new menu here with the configuration of the network and the host name. And let us say, and this should be a terminal. So CentOS terminal. If you have more than one network card, they will show up here. So to the network configuration. You can get IP address in two main ways, dynamic and static. The system is now configured for dynamic configuration. If you want static, you change that with help of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 choice. So you're setting IP address, network mask, gateway, default gateway and so on. And you also have IPv6 here. But I will go for the simplicity here. So what I need to do is to say that the configuration should be stable. That means that we will have a working internet connection after reboot. That is number 7. Now the system will have internet connection when the installation is finished and the system starting up for the first time. And I also want internet connection during installation so they could download software, updates, so on, time settings, you name it. And that is number 8. So when we are finished, we take continue and we will back one step. And now we see that this system have get access to the network and have an IP address. So continue again. That finish off network settings. Next good place is time setting. The time zone is completely wrong for me. So that I want to change. And I choose the time zone with number 1 here. Sweden is part of Europe, so number 1 in my case. And now for some reason they don't spell out the name of the country, they spell out the capital of the country. So they have London and so on, but Stockholm in my case though. So, for some reason we are back in the main menu, but there is one more quite useful setting. If you want to have correction of the time, you could add time server. And that is something you should look up before you start the installation on the internet, what are suitable time server for you. Because that depend on where you live, and maybe your country have national time server which are close to you, so you get a more accurate time. And adding time server is simple, just number 1 there. And now you need to spell correctly. If you don't spell correctly, it will don't work, but you can test it before you continue with the installation. So we start, for example, with Google, which actually have public time servers. I think that is correctly spelled. And now they test this. I should now add a couple of more time server just to give example of more or less good time servers. When you have added time server, they test if that time server actually work, and you have a status update here. And newly added servers are status checking. And you simply press R and enter to update the list. And now we see that this server don't working because we don't have a local time server on this network. But if you are a bigger organization, you many times have a local time server just to keep all computer running on the same time which are a great help if you have an incident and need to compare the logs from several different systems. If a time server don't work like this, either because they don't exist or you have a misspelling or something, you simply remove it. And now look up which you want to remove and enter. And when you are finished, continue, and we are back. Alright. Installation media is alright. I don't see any reason to change this, but what type of installation should be changed? And I go for a minimal server. There. I'm satisfied with that choice. Here you can choose additional software. Well, maybe that. Alright, something like that I think can be suitable. You can always add more software later. This marking will change to an X, which means that everything are alright when the processing are finished. So let us move on with the root password. And you should have it twice. And if you give a good password, everything all right. We can also create a new user. And first we should tell them to create the user. The full name. That are, for example, used by email program. The username is quite kaiku. And the user should have a password. And we set the password. And if we give a very poor password, oh, that was completely wrong spelling. And now you get a warning and I need to say yes. In a real system, of course, you should not have a weak password. But for a demonstration system, it's alright. Number 6 means administrator. This user can escalate his or her account to root without knowing the root password with help of the command sudo. So they can do administrative task. So I will make this user as administrator, and that also means that they will be member of this group. And number 7 you use to add the user to a different group if you want. But I choose continue. We need to tell the system where we want to install. We only have one hard drive, so this will be very simple. Continue. Now we can choose a number of choices. I will make it very easy. Replace everything. That's our number 1. And now continue. Here you can choose different type of hard drive scheme. Logic volume management with thin providing. That means that you can set how much hard drive space each user should have. And standard partition. A standard partition is slightly fast and take less system resources than LVM and RAID and so on. But I stick with the default choice here. So continue. Every box is now checked, so we can start the installation if we like the language. In other case, you need to change back to what you want. English, for example. I have now changed to English again, an American keyboard. Unfortunately, CentOS don't have the option to have an English installation and Swedish keyboard. That is something I hope they fix in the future, because that are quite annoying. Because if you have an English version of the system, you can many times copy and paste error message into Google and find the solution for your problem. So that is a good reason why you want an English version of the system, but have local setting on keyboard, for example. To start the installation, press B and now enter. And there the installation have started. The installation is finished, so we should restart the computer. But the CD-ROM or installation media are needed during restart, so leave the installation media in the computer and hit enter to restart. If the installation program fails to push out the installation media, the installation will start up again. Stop the timer with help of the arrow key up and down. And now remove the CD-ROM, DVD and so on manually. And force it out of the driver if necessary. And now push the reset button and wait for the system to start up. And there we have a working system. And now to the bonus material. Alright, first bonus fact. This should have been a workstation, and if you look careful in this installation, there is a choice to install a workstation, but that choice don't work. You get a terminal machine instead of a working workstation. So with this terminal installer, you can only install terminal servers. You cannot install working graphical variant of CentOS. If you will have a graphical system, you must be able to use the graphical installer. Bonus fact number 2. There is sometimes discussion about how you should have partitioned your hard drive. And people say it's stupid to have a /boot and so on partition. Well, Ubuntu, Debian, CentOS, most Linux installation work fine if you only have /root, which are bootable, containing all user files, all program files, and one partition as a swap partition in most circumstances. But for some unexplained reason, sometimes this very simple hard drive scheme simply don't work. And I cannot find any person who explained why this happened. But if you have problem to start the computer, creating a specific boot partition for /boot many times solve that problem. And as you can see, that are also the default configuration for CentOS. And they also use a more stable variant of file system, Exit4 instead of XFS file system. So many times you find systems which have /boot simply because it is a more safe variant of file system scheme. So you eliminate the problem in the future if you add more hard drive. And the last bonus fact here, dev, mapper and so on. That means that these are an LVM, Logic Volume Management System. To use LVM, make it more easy to add more hard drive space without emigrated data. And emigrated data are many times very simple with LVM because there are automated routine to handle that situation. But you pay a price for LVM's flexibility. The system have lower performance. So if you choose a standard configuration with static partition instead, you get more performance out, but it's also more work to be done if you need an extra hard drive. That was everything I have to show you. Thanks for watching and have a nice day. Simutrans is an open source transport simulator game. You can transporting cargo, passenger and mail on land, sea and in the air. Thank you for your time.